Good afternoon, Kitty, and all of ABC Council. Very pleased to share with you any lessons that we've learned so far. First of all, I would say that the food industry in Northern Ireland was caught up in the COVID emergency, as it were, and we had to keep on working. And during that those first few days, we had to adapt very quickly. Be creative, re-engineer our workplaces. So I suppose a lot of what Gareth has said, I can echo and show some practical examples. Mm-hmm. First thing is any company must make the communication to its staff before they come on site. So if you haven't already started back to work, you should be talking by email, or by whatever means you can, to all of your employees to warn them of what they're going to have to adapt to. Yeah. Give them the new rules, as much written as you can. And whenever they arrive on site, make your intentions clear from the door. So yeah. Big notices wherever you go to continually communicate the message and reinforce it. Mm-hmm. Hygiene, fortunately for the food industry, was second nature to us, but so much of the COVID-19 precautions are around hand washing, good hygienic practice, sanitizing surfaces, sanitizing hands, preventing the spread. So start at the door and get people to sanitize. Get you wherever you have to buy them from. If you haven't got a fancy wall-mounted one, then a little table with a squeezy bottle will do. Some people are using wipes. Use your imagination on how you tackle that. Mm-hmm. And while you're advising your staff all through notices, don't forget we have got more than just English to communicate with. Put your notices up in all languages. This particular one, we put up later on. We'd forgotten that we actually needed to have social distancing in our smoking hut outside the gate. And this is what happens. As you get into it, you begin to realize there's lots of areas to be considered. Mm-hmm. So the first and foremost thing is form your own COVID committee. COVID team, yeah. Mm-hmm. Your own team to continually evaluate the practices that you need to implement. Mm-hmm. That team should meet daily, because you're going to have to answer queries on a daily basis, affect actions, make changes. You're going to have to quash rumors, and they'll go about who's caught it and who hasn't. And I hear a story of someone in the next industrial estate. All of these things have got to be addressed immediately. Mm-hmm. In the food industry, we've got a lot of places that have got quite large workforces, and we're located in remote industrial estates. So we have to provide food for our employees. So canteens are a big thing for us. Mm-hmm. And there's many solutions to canteens, but all based around social distancing and protecting the workers. Mm-hmm. Lots of signs, lots of notices on floors, spacing out of tables. One of the examples here shows a marquee that somebody had to erect because their canteen just wasn't big enough. So other solutions can be arrived at. This third slide shows to make sure you don't have two people at the one table, just take the chairs out.
Yeah. And also you've kept it social by sort of having the table still facing each other, and so we can still keep it social in a human interaction way, but make sure the distancing is there, Brian.
Absolutely. A canteen is an important place for social discourse. Yeah. People feel more at home. Mm-hmm. They're able to mix with each other. Mm-hmm. The other things that we've had to do was on the shop floor. This goes for any type of manufacturing or assembly or distribution business. Create space as much as possible. Mark out places for people to stand. If you have to extend conveyor belts, to give people more space, then do so.
Yeah.
If you have to slow production line down so that you don't have as many people taking off the line in a jammed up space, then that's what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And you can slow it down while you're making some other engineering arrangements. If you still aren't able to create a 2-meter social distancing between people who are working, then the use of perspex screens is a very agreeable thing, very useful, easily erected. Local engineering companies can knock them together pretty quick, but make sure that your employee has all the stuff at their workstation that they need, so they don't have to leave and go back and mix with other people. Mm-hmm. Very simple and useful thing. Offices, we just said no more than 2 people in an office. Doesn't matter how big it is, 2 people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, notices on all the doors.
Yeah, signage just seems like such a simple thing, but it was nearly a thing of the past in many respects, but it's very much back and has its place. Just some simple signage is going to really help people understand the new health and safety guidelines in the workspace.
It's part of a...
Sorry, Kate, I was just going to say on that one as well, though, that a lot of companies are saying now they have to make that signage permanent. You know, they put up temporary signs, and that is part of phase 3, is making sure they have permanent signs there.
Mm-hmm.
The partitions can be suspended from the ceiling if you can't get ways of erecting them off the floor. Mm-hmm. Even our wash basins had to be separated out there. If factories don't have good hand washing facilities, you're going to have to think about that, because hand washing is one of the building blocks of good precautions against the virus. Mm-hmm. And in the early days, we were washing our hands 10 times a day. So we ended up providing cream for people.
For people's hands, yeah.
A simple thing all around staggering shift time starts. With pinch points built up at the time clocks, at the changing rooms. Mm-hmm. So even with staggered shift starts, we're beginning to get bunching up. So we introduced a quota of number of people in an area at any one time, lines along the corridor for people to queue, and one of Gareth's social distancing marshals on duty at the shift changeover time, just to ensure good behaviour and remind people. Very effective, and also that person was able to chat with them all.
Well, this is a very detailed slide, Brian, which you kindly pulled together, really working through quite a lot of the steps that you've taken, which you've covered verbally there with us. But, you know, it's probably a very small percentage of everything that you've had to put in place, but it's useful for people to see that today.
Yes, and I suppose it reflects that you've got to make an adoption in every single part of your business process. Mm-hmm. You know, from goods in, from entry through the door, all the way through to delivery out of your goods to customers. You've got to think through all of those steps where social distancing has got to be enforced. You've got to communicate that to each of the individual workers. Different people in different departments are going to have different rules to follow, all based around social distancing. And your daily meeting COVID team are going to come up with even more.
So it's an ongoing, it's an organic process. It's going to keep, you know, evolving. And like, Brian, has there been a significant cost to the business in terms of putting all these various measures into place to support the business being able to operate during lockdown? Or what's your view on the investment that's needed to make the space health and safety compliant?
We've had to just absorb those costs. Each individual business will have more or less costs. If you can create space, you'll have less costs. So work on making room within your offices, clear out desks you don't need, put away filing cabinets that are getting in the way, create space that will keep the expense down. But our attitude towards the expense is that, number one, you must make the place safe for people That's your number one responsibility. And secondly, the amount of expense you go to is a lot better than not being able to produce. It's an investment.
And look, Brian, I said at the beginning, you know, for those businesses that aren't in your space whereby you've been working during lockdown, there's nearly a fear on businesses, like where do I even begin to roll up my sleeves and start to think about all of this? What advice do you have for some of the businesses that are participating in the webinar today in terms of, you know, what do they need to do to really think about how they get their workplaces ready to reopen?
Think about the key principles of social distancing, hygiene, hand washing. Those three things, get those right. And if you've got a team of people, split the workplace up, the work process up into various areas, and get 2 or 3 people thinking about each area individually, and then go away and do the actions.